Two people are being questioned in connection with the murder of Ellie Edwards on Christmas Eve. Both suspects have been taken into custody. Tributes are continuing to be paid to the 26-year-old who was shot in the head in Merseyside. Train passengers are being warned they face more disruption after the latest strike by rail workers finishes. A murder investigation has been launched after a man was stabbed in a Birmingham nightclub on Boxing Day. And campaigners say racism in the housing industry is putting more lives at risk. Hello, good afternoon. Two people are being questioned in connection with the fatal shooting of Ellie Edwards in Merseyside on Christmas Eve. A 30-year-old man is being held on suspicion of murder and a 19-year-old woman is being detained on suspicion of conspiracy to murder. Ellie Edwards died in hospital after being shot in the head at the Lighthouse pub in Wallasey Village. Our correspondent Fiona Trott has been speaking to people there.
A beautiful angel. That's how Ellie Edwards has been described by colleagues, a beautician who was shot and killed whilst celebrating Christmas here with family and friends. A man opened fire at the entrance. 4 others were injured. 1 is in a critical condition in hospital. Today, people are returning to work for the first time after the Christmas break. They say life is supposed to go on, but it's hard.
We had a lovely build up to Christmas, everything was lovely, we were all happy, and now we've come here and it's just a scary place to be.
Did you know Ellie?
I did know Ellie, which makes it just even more awful.
Michelle's lived here all her life and runs the local laundrette.
That poor family, every Christmas, never ever going to be the same for them, is it? Ever. It's such a shame.
What do you think the community can move on from this?
I think it'll always be there, won't it? That every time you go into that lighthouse, every time you sat there, you're going to think about it, aren't you?
I don't think you were safe anywhere. We're here, we're in Wallasey, and it's a nice little community, it's a nice area, but we're not safe. Are we anywhere that we go now?
So you feel that?
Yeah, I feel like it's not safe.
After Ellie's family visited the scene yesterday, the investigation moved quickly. Forensic teams searched the local area and community leaders issued a fresh appeal for information. Then, a few hours later, police activity across the city. Officers were seen here at addresses in Tranmere, the area where 2 arrests were made. Merseyside police have said they don't believe Ellie Edwards was deliberately targeted. It makes her death all the more difficult for her family to comprehend. And everybody you speak to on the main street here today says they're thinking of Ellie's family. They continue to walk through the rain and lay flowers here for the 26-year-old. Her relatives are being supported by specially trained police officers today, and the force says it's continuing with its investigation. It's now asking anybody with dash cam footage or CCTV footage to come forward. Anita.
Fiona, thank you very much. Rail passengers are being warned they face more disruption despite members of the RMT union returning to work today after the latest strike. An ongoing overtime ban, engineering work and a walkout by members of the TSSA union means that only 70% of services are running. Passengers are being urged to check train times before travelling. Theo Leggett has the latest.
Large crowds, plenty of would-be passengers and very few trains setting off. This was the scene at Paddington Station in London this morning.
I completely support the strikes. I just, hope that it doesn't continue for too much longer and hope that they get what they need.
Some of them are due for it, all right. But to do it on a holiday time like this and that is spoiling everyone's holiday, isn't it?
The national strike by RMT union members at Network Rail ended at 6 a.m. But getting a railway back up and running takes time.
Staff are returning to work, so it is much later start up for passenger services. So passengers should really check before they travel today to ensure that they don't turn up at a station and no trains be there. But we'll expect to run about 70% of normal services today.
Network Rail's Christmas strike may be at an end, but the disruption certainly isn't over. We're seeing plenty of cancellations and delays. There's an overtime ban still in force across much of the network and some localised train strikes as well. And next week, things are set to get even worse. Some of the worst problems today are being felt by passengers at Cross Country. The company says no services will be running north of York because of ongoing industrial action.
Victory to RMT!
Meanwhile, 2 further 48-hour national strikes by RMT members working at both Network Rail and 14 train companies are due to take place next week, from Tuesday to Wednesday and from Friday to Saturday. And in between those, a national strike by train drivers called by the ASLEF union is scheduled for Thursday, the 5th of January. And these strikes are unlikely to be the last. Disputes between unions and rail firms over money, jobs and working practices show no sign of being resolved. That leaves rail travellers facing the prospect of a bleak new year. Theo Leggett, BBC News.
A murder investigation is underway after a 23-year-old man was stabbed to death on the dance floor of a Birmingham nightclub. The man was fatally injured at the Crane in Digbeth. Our Midlands correspondent Phil Mackey is at the scene. Phil, what more can you tell us about the victim and about the police investigation?
We don't know much about the victim yet, and West Midlands Police are still carrying out their inquiries. They've urged anybody who was here last night, who hasn't already been spoken to get in touch with them. They may have important information about that 23-year-old. There was a major event going on yesterday here at the Crane, one of many nightclubs in the Digbeth area in disused factories. It was a rave that began at 3 o'clock. DJ Marco Carola from Italy was playing the end of the set, so it was due to scheduled to finish at midnight. This man was fatally stabbed just before then and died within half an hour. We've had a statement from the Crane. They say we're deeply shocked and saddened that a man lost his life last night as our Boxing Day event came to a close. Our thoughts are with the victim and his family and friends. They also say they're working closely with West Midlands Police. Lots of activity in the area at the moment, and we hope to get an update from West Midlands Police at some stage later on today.
Phil, thank you very much. At least 60 people have been killed in the winter storms that are sweeping across North America. The city of Buffalo in New York State has borne the brunt of the Arctic conditions. At least 27 people have died there. President Biden has approved financial support for the state. Let's get more from CBS correspondent Jared Hill, who's in New York. Jared, what's the latest?
So, Anita, just to kind of give some context to the viewers here, Buffalo, New York is about 600-kilometer drive from New York City, and right now it really does look in many ways like something out of the movies. Today, Buffalo is bracing for yet another snowfall, possibly upwards to an additional foot on top of the 4 or so feet they've already seen there. The mayor is describing this storm as the worst in nearly 50 years. There's still a driving ban in place, with roads either impassable or being reserved for emergency crews. As you mentioned, assistance from the federal government is coming in. That was just approved, not just the financial support, but also manpower to help with some of the emergency efforts there. Now, there's another bright spot here. After today's snow, it's expected to get warmer in the Buffalo area starting tomorrow, which will melt some of what's already on the ground. But the National Weather Service is also warning this could lead to minor flooding there as well. Now, this storm has also impacted the southern United States, parts of the country that are not accustomed to this type of weather. For example, Jackson in the state of Mississippi has a boil water advisory in place right now because the cold has broken pipes there and a really tough time of year. Back to you.
Jared Hill, thank you very much. The chef Jamie Oliver has told the BBC that the revenue raised through the government's sugar tax should be used to extend the provision of free school meals. In England and Wales, children aged 4 to 16 are eligible if they live in a household with an annual income of less than £7,400. Jamie Oliver is pushing for all children living in households receiving universal credit to be included in the scheme. In England, this amounts to about 800,000 children.
I would say, by a long galactic way, it is the best value of a taxpayer's buck. Why? Because the institution of school is well established. You know, the money spent there is a very trusted, good place, measured place to do it. If we don't spend it here, it will kind of react elsewhere within the community, and it definitely won't be as cheap.
A month after a coroner concluded that 2-year-old Awab Ishaq died from exposure to mould in his home in Rochdale, campaigners say racism in the housing industry is putting more lives at risk. Latest government figures show Black and Asian people in England are 3 times more likely to live in homes with damp. Our community affairs correspondent Adina Campbell reports.
We had 2 buckets for the bathroom, one to catch the water and one to flush the toilet with, because for some reason...
Nicole Sinclair's kitchen ceiling has been leaking for more than 5 years. She moved into this tower block flat in West London with her 10-year-old daughter in 2012. And there are other serious problems.
She's not allowed to go in the toilet without an umbrella or a rain mat on when the leaks are in the bathroom, because I don't know what that substance is and I don't want it to touch her.
The tower block is owned by Ealing Council, but she feels neglected.
I drive past Grenfell to go to work when we're talking about never forget, and you're letting tower blocks continue to fall into such disrepair that they're becoming into this state, then no lessons have been learned and no, you don't really care.
Ealing Council says it's truly sorry that Miss Sinclair and her daughter are living in these appalling conditions and has been working for some time to resolve complex plumbing problems in the building. It says it will now urgently review options available and reassess her situation. 2-year-old Awab Ishaq died after being exposed to mould at his family home in Rochdale. The housing association responsible for the property has apologised for making assumptions about the family's lifestyle. Their case and others were addressed by the Housing Secretary Michael Gove in Parliament last month.
And there have been other examples of individuals in both the private rented sector and the social rented sector who've been treated with significantly less respect than they deserve because of attitudes that are rooted in prejudice. And I think we all have a responsibility across this House to call that out when it occurs.
Often families from minoritised communities feel more disrespected, less likely to be listened to. There are cultural assumptions made.
Pull that paint off, it'll come off. Look, you don't take that out.
In Bradford, Sajida Hussain says her family have health problems after moving into their mouldy housing association home 6 years ago.
We're in the kids' room. My both daughters sleep in this bed. Mould, water comes through, drip into the ceiling. The kids falling ill. My daughter's always in and out of hospital with antibiotics and everything.
In Communities Housing Association says the health and well-being of its customers is its most important priority and has dealt with the root cause of damp and mould issues reported by Miss Hussain on several occasions, including installing extractor fans, topping up loft insulation and roof repairs.
By telling me,
Back in West London, Nicole fears things won't change for her family anytime soon.
I've started at repairs and gone all the way up to the chief exec. I've left the chief exec and gone to our local MP. I've left the local MP and notified Michael Gove himself. What am I supposed to do? Where do I go after this? There's nowhere for me to go.
Adina Campbell, BBC News.
It's time for a look at the weather now, and here's Thomas Schaffenacker. Hi, Thomas.
Hi, Anita. It's looking really turbulent in the run-up to Christmas. Christmas. The new year, of course. This picture really tells the story. Strong winds and rain on the way. Gales, in fact, expected across some western parts of the UK through the middle and latter part of the week. And if we look at the satellite picture, you can see a trail of cloud here stretching across the Atlantic. One weather system crossing us right now. This is the next one for tomorrow. And then we'll see yet more weather systems spinning up in the Atlantic thanks to a very powerful jet stream. So here's the weather map, that weather front crossing us right now, and then the one for tomorrow. So here's the picture through the middle part of the afternoon. Temperatures in the south just about touching double figures. In the north, where in Scotland it's been snowy across the Highlands, closer to 3 degrees. That band of rain will sweep further eastwards, and actually the skies will clear come the evening across many western and northern parts of the country. It's not going to last for very long because I showed you those weather systems lining up in the Atlantic. This is the next one by 6 o'clock, so the rain is just about nudging into almost Northern Ireland, into Wales, the Midlands and southeastern parts of England, whereas further north it's clear and calm there in eastern Scotland. Scotland, so a touch of frost on the way once again. But this area of low pressure with strong winds blowing to the south of it will sweep right across the country. Gusts of wind on coastal areas around 50 miles an hour or more, really windy inland too. Where we're not going to see much rain tomorrow, that's the very far north of Scotland. In fact, it's going to take a while before that weather front reaches north. Elsewhere, I think it's going to be a sort of a pretty unpleasant day tomorrow, really. Yes, 11 degrees on the thermometer, but with the wind and the rain, it's not going to feel like it at all. And then even once the main rain band clears away, we're still within this area of low pressure, a rash of showers, really gusty winds as well. It's a broad low pressure just clearing. And look, here's the next one behind it. And actually, there's more out there as well. So you get that picture, very turbulent picture. That's what happens when the jet stream this time of the year is very strong. Here's Thursday's scene. So temperatures a little bit lower, 7 to maybe 9 or 10 degrees, blustery showers as well. And then we're thinking that on Friday, a really nasty area of low pressure is going to sweep in, bringing heavy rain, and I think even a risk of severe gales around some western parts of the UK. So here's the outlook into the new year. So Saturday, New Year's Eve, Sunday, the 1st of January 2023, temperatures into double figures in the south and unsettled around 7 in the north. Back to you.
Thomas, thank you very much. And that's all from BBC News at 1. So it's goodbye from me and the rest of the team. And on BBC One, we now join the BBC's news teams where you are.